Here are your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
In the wise words of Bobby Green, keep sleeping on me and I'm gonna wake you up. And the King absolutely did so. It only took about 33 seconds to get the job done against the number 10 ranked Grant Dawson. Boom, just like that, Bobby Green, top 10 pound in the lightweight division, man. MMA is a crazy sport. You never know what you're going to get. And we're here to break it all down. Folks, my name is Derick G. Welcome back to another episode of the Bloody Water Podcast. Breaking it down with me, as always, the Santa Fe bomber, the New Mexico native, AJ, the golden voice of the Bloody Water Podcast, shocked the world. He woke up the doubters, ourselves included. How do you feel, brother?
Man, this is one of those losses, Derek, that I'm a little happy to have, brother. You know, even like you said, on this show, we have him as the golden voice of the sleeper section. You think we take our own advice and just stay not sleeping on Bobby Green. But admittedly, Grant Dawson looked like a hell of a mountain to climb, and Bobby Green stuffs him down in 33 seconds. I want to say the King is back, you know, back in the top 10, but it feels like he's never left. He's always right here, always in the media presence. It was a good weekend of fights. Wouldn't you agree, Derek?
Yeah, I would say this was definitely a sleeper card. I was hearing all types of craziness because, you know, you had Bellator 300, you had a boxing match going on, all that good stuff people were talking about. I'm convinced the only people watching this card right now are like the degenerate gamblers. Like nobody else is paying attention to this. But there was some good action to be had. There was some movement within some of the, not top 15, right, but maybe top 30, top 35 fighters in some of these divisions. And we got a lot of good stuff to talk about. So with that being said, folks, as you can see on the screen, as it indicates, I did win the week barely, but we got the job done and we brought it one fight closer. AJ, it is one pick apart, me and you, my friend. You still hold the lead, so you got the bragging rights. There's nothing that I can say there, but we should, without any further ado, get right into it, break it down. Before we do it, if you haven't subscribed, folks, what are you doing? This is your favorite fighter's favorite fight show, and I guess we'll prove it to you right here. So subscribe now. Let's get it. All right, AJ, pulling up the recap screen. Lots of gold on both ends, which is what you do like to see. And I think more important than anything else here, AJ, we need to discuss it for a moment. Bloody Water Podcast consensus picks. We had 4 of them, and we went 3-1, bro. Grant Dawson broke our Bloody Water Podcast consensus picks. Out of 10 times, you're picking Grant Dawson. A healthy 9 out of 10 times, 8 out of 10 times. What do you think?
Say 8 times. Yeah, Derek, I don't think, like I said, Bobby Green shocked the world. Not many people saw that one coming, especially Grant Dawson.
Yeah, but you would just say like, hey, at the end of the day, revisionist history, we went with the right game plan, checked all the boxes, we came up just a touch short. That's the nature of the beast. But there is some room that we need to improve upon here, AJ. So let's bring up the props, my man. We can't buy one. We can't buy one recently. Algeo versus Hernandez in the distance, minus money. AJ, we've fallen victim to the curse again. We just can't pick minus money, right? Only one, I think, minus money prop hit on the main card, and it was Drew Dober knockout. And that was a gimme. That was a layup. But Alex Morono, AJ, you gave the people the lock. It wasn't the minus money. It's okay. Just let's have a little accountability hour. What were your thoughts?
100% accountability hour, Derek. We were talking about it in the pre-show. Sometimes Alex Morono walks in there and he's feeling good. He's, you know, in his last couple fights, man, he looked absolutely amazing. And then comes back in this one, and the gas tank issues were there in the 3rd round. The speed was just not matched enough. Yeah, this was a letdown on me, folks. I can take full accountability on that one. That was my bad. Morono let me down a little bit, but I mean, still, the point holds. He could do that kind of stuff. It was just not his night.
Yeah, fair play. And I'll have to say, same thing on my end. Algeo versus Hernandez. I'm thinking performance of the night awards going out there. In the distance, once again, minus money. Somebody was getting knocked out. Hernandez got dropped. Algeo got clipped, but we went to a decision. So, like I said, it's tough right now. Can't buy them, but for the money line props, we got you covered, folks. And AJ, we're going to talk about all of the other fights here in just one moment. But let me just bring it up really quickly one more time, folks. If you do take a look over here and you look at the scoreboards, 107 wins for AJ, 106 for me. At the end of the day, we're both 60% plus accuracy rating right here. That's what you want to see. That's why you should subscribe, because we are winning you the money. But let's talk about some fights, AJ. Let's break them on down. Let's get straight to it, brother. Let's get it.
Have you seen that replay, buddy? Your head was bouncing around like a pinball machine.
Time for some main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ. Not much to say on this one, AJ. Bobby Green walked into the cage. He felt confident, and it was only about the second strike that he threw, at least perception-wise. He clipped Grant Dawson. A lot of people are calling it a jab. Really, it was a southpaw left cross down the pipe, and one was really all that it took. A couple follow-up shots got the job done. I think that's where we got like 7 total significant strikes from, a couple follow-up shots. But really, I think you could tell Dawson was frozen after that first one. What do you think factored into this one, AJ? Because I have a theory, but I want your thoughts. Why did Grant Dawson run through everybody and then just get instantly clipped by Bobby Green?
Man, for what I was seeing in the fight, Derick, timing. The timing that Bobby Green threw that strike. He saw Grant Dawson open up just a little bit with his own left hook, and Bobby Green was able to get to A to B faster and cleaner and smoother, literally taking the direct route. And we saw what happened, man. Stuffed Grant Dawson, put him on his back, and you're right. He was staring up at the sky, only needed a couple more to put him out. I think the timing that Bobby Green had to do that with the explosiveness, and especially being early in the round, being fresh, having all that stuff going for you, was really a amalgamation of all the bad things that could have happened for Grant Dawson. And Bobby Green's timing was just perfect enough to land it on the button. What do you think kind of played factor into this one, Derick?
Well, I think you definitely on the money. Timing was on point. Bobby Green, slickster style, hands down. You can't really see the jab coming up or the straight cross coming down the pipe. There was no tell to it. There was no give. A lot of dudes wind up and then strike. His was boop, straight line. That's what we say. Point A to point B, right? My theory is this. I think Grant Dawson found himself in a predicament where he put so much pressure on himself, right? Where he says, hey, I know I have to win these fights. If I want to be where I want to be, I have to beat the Bobby Greens, right? Because if I don't, I'm not gone forever, but it's going to be a long trek back up that hill to get to where I want to be. Closes as like a minus 430 favorite or something like that. Everybody expects him to dominate. I said in the pre-show, if you don't dominate, you don't really win. This is a lose-lose spot for you. And what happens? He lost, right? But the reason why I think is a little bit of tenseness. I felt Bobby Green walked in confident, ready to go. What's up? Walked him down. Let's do this, right? Grant Dawson immediately, he put himself on the back foot, back against the wall, and I think was just sitting there like, all right, I can't get caught. I got to get to that takedown. Being so tense. First one you get hit with, boom, you're done. And now that's my theory. Obviously, he's fought a bunch of these other dudes, same exact predicament, and he was able to prevail. I just think that it looked almost too much of like you're too wound up, you got clipped, you got dropped, and you were done. Do you have any feedback on that one, or is that a fair assessment?
I liked what you said about Grant Dawson putting himself on the back foot, because he really did. Once, Bobby Green showed up, he did the classic, big chest walking in, hands down, and Grant Dawson almost initially just took himself back a little bit, just felt back into that seat, if you will, put his back against the cage and trying to find a way. And I was in those moments when you're doing that kind of stuff and you're thinking a little bit too much instead of reacting to what's going on. That's exactly where it was. And that stiffness you're talking about did come into effect, because he wasn't smooth, he wasn't crisp, he wasn't actually there. He was stiff, throwing the big punches, wanting to hurt Bobby Green. And it ends up how we saw it end up. And that's a lot of the time, man. That's why you got to be comfortable in there to get it done like Bobby Green does.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I guess this is really a testament to Bobby Green continuously taking these opportunities. A lot of people call him crazy. Like, why are you taking this fight right here? This is Islam Makhachev 2.0. That's basically what I said, right? But look at Bobby Green. He says, listen, I'm after the money fights. I'm after the opportunity fights. And what's a better opportunity than a win-win fight against a top 10 ranked fighter? You stole all his momentum. You stole all his popularity. And now he's over here calling out Dan Hooker. Renato Moicano's calling for his name. The top 10 wants Bobby Green now. So he's found himself in a position to be able to escalate himself and come closer to, who would have known, a title shot? Bobby Green, bro. Oh my God, the king. You gotta love it, man. Implications, AJ. I mean, I pretty much lined him up right there. Is there anything that I missed on that one? What's next for Bobby Green?
Man, what's next for Bobby Green is a hell of a lot of paydays, Derick. Bobby Green's a fun fighter. I'm not saying I'm calling for him to have the title. I don't know if he'll even get close, but I do know that Bobby Green, each fight he's going to be paid a lot more money for exactly what he does in there, man. And that's, I think, one of the best parts about this for Bobby Green is he's going to have a lot of fun, and we're going to see a lot of entertaining fights because of it.
And AJ, let me just say right here is the closest Bobby Green has been to the title in his entire career thus far, bro. So that's why I'm saying, like, you don't talk about might not even get close. He's already there. He's top 10 right now. Anybody in the top 10 got a shot. So I will say Bobby Green is a testament to if there is an opportunity, that is a door waiting to be kicked in. Bobby Green kicked it in, and the king is here to stay. Grant Dawson will make his return, but top 10, Bobby Green, you got to love it. All right, AJ. Be like Joe Pyfer. We said it time and time again. Abdul Razak Alhassan, I said, why is this guy being subdued given the limelight of Joe Pyfer? How has this dude built himself up where he's replaced a veteran of the game who's knocked out some of the best dudes to do it? And he closed, once again, as like a minus 450 favorite. We know why. Because Joe Pyfer is the real deal. He says, knock you out, no need. How about I grab that arm triangle and I put you to bed? That was a beautiful display. Versatile Joe Pyfer. What do you got, AJ?
Versatile, mean Derick, and powerful in there. He not only had the, like, I'm not saying power in just the fact of his hands and the strikes he was doing, but in his presence he presented in the cage. We saw Abdul Razak Alhassan have that 1,000-yard stare, not even when he was going to sleep, but the entire fight, when things were hitting him, he was looking, trying to find a way. Body bags made it look not easy, but fluid. And I think that's one of the things I liked most about this. Joe Pyfer looked very, very calm, not calm in there, but like composed in there. It was a good fight. This was a hell of a showing for Joe Pyfer, man. I'm excited to see who they put him up next. What do you think about this one, Derick?
I think composed is a really good word, but I think more than anything else was just not overwhelmed by the limelight, the name in front of him, right? It felt like he almost meant he was meant to be in this moment and to capitalize on that moment. Kind of like that Grant Dawson stuff where he's like, well, if I want to be where I want to be, these are the fights that I need to win. The scariest part about it is that he went toe for toe in the pocket phone booth with Razak Alhassan, and that's what worried me. That's where I was like, that's where you get the hedge on Alhassan because it only takes one shot. But AJ, was there a merit in what I had mentioned originally, talking about how in the grand scheme of things, Pyfer could have won that fight just purely off of volume. Just Alhassan doesn't throw enough to even win that fight. Was it necessary for him to go in for the kill that way? Or do you think that in future fights, going up the rankings, he should maybe stand down a little bit and take that chill approach? I'm just going to point you in, get the dub, because you're playing with fire, and the higher you go, the more hot that fire gets. What do you think?
I want to say that's a smarter approach for Joe Pyfer, at least on paper, right? Like stay the course, kind of maintain, be comfortable in there. Not necessarily point him up, but fight your fight in order to have it, be the best outcome for you. But again, Derick, you can't really get to that top upper echelon as fast as you want if you're not doing the things he did in this kind of fight, which is stand toe to toe with the big dogs, get in there, earn that respect, and kind of put a little bit of shake in everybody else's boots in the back curtain, because Joe Pyfer's gonna be there, gonna be fighting that same kind of style. I like that one a little bit more for him, that aggressive, that kind of reckless abandonment, if you will. I'm not saying it leads to championships, but I am saying it leads to a path forward. And once we get to that kind of top upper echelon, then maybe we might see a switch up. Maybe we won't. Maybe he keeps it the same. I like this style for him, especially because, like you said on the mic, man, he came from nothing. He has nothing to lose. He's got no worries about it. He's here fighting for his country. He's here fighting for his fans and his family. You got to love that, especially if it's a guy who's willing just to get in there and throw down like a dog.
And I think even more beautiful than everything that was pretty much summed up about this journey of Joe Pyfer so far is that he really is showing, man, if you're not willing to play the full game here, I'm going to take you to school. The man had not had a submission victory since 2019 on the regional scene when he was like 4-0, right? So he comes in, grabs the standing arm triangle. I thought we were going to see a Jessica Andrade moment for a second right there against Amanda Lemos, right? Grabs the standing arm triangle, doesn't get it, follows it back up. And one of the things that he said was, hey, man, that's not something I really game plan for. That's just my go-to. So when it's there, I go for it. And you got to love that. Do jiu-jitsu, do kickboxing, be versatile. As Abdul Razak Alhassan, man, that's judo thunder right there, man. So, I was hoping we'd see a little more grappling. Didn't, but be like Joe Pyfer. Big win. All right. AJ, Drew Dober. Smash by Ricky Glenn. I mean, I don't want to kind of keep following down the same path that we go on every time we see this type of matchup. But this is one where a lot of people were just simply asking, like, why was this booked? This was a smash spot for Dober, get right fight for Dober, and this is probably the last that we're going to see of Ricky Glenn in the UFC. Shout out to the Gladiator, man. He's fought the OGs. He's done it all, seen it all. Versatile guy himself. But Drew Dober was just too much to overcome this time. What'd you see?
The power, Derek, the power of Drew Dober. And again, another fighter who we've seen at times be a little reckless, be a little wild in there, be willing to, stand toe to toe in the phone booth. But Drew Dober at this point looked a little more calculated, looked a little more not thoughtful necessarily, but game plan oriented in there, but still hit with bricks in his hand. And I think that's what really kind of gave pause for Ricky Glenn in there. It took a couple to the body, and he goes, "Oh shit! Like, man, this guy's throwing him." We saw how it ended up for Ricky Glenn. Man, this was not so bad that I want to say I hope we don't see Ricky Glenn, because he's a good fighter, but when you're kind of being outmatched with these guys and this kind of thing, already retired, I guess, a couple times, at least been cut on the UFC roster to watch list on Twitter. Who knows if he has or hasn't, and it's just a rough one to see that level of growth from Drew Dober come when the rest of the, when his fighter against him, Ricky Glenn, just hasn't really been able to maintain that same steady level of growth. You know what I'm saying, Derek?
I hear you, but I don't really think Drew Dober did anything different. That was the mysterious part for me. I just felt like he did the same thing that he does. Walks you down, smashes you. You know what I mean? I didn't see as much composure as I thought we would see. I thought it'd be a much more patient approach. But I think he saw an opportunity in front of him, and he took advantage of it. For Ricky Glenn, the only problem that we have here is that I believe it was his last fight against Christos Giagos, where he got knocked out for the first time in his career. Well, then he get knocked out again in the sequential fight. This is kind of, I mean, I'm not going to say this is an apt comparison, but Tony Ferguson-esque, right? Where it's like you're doing it, and then you just not, right? BJ Penn, then you're just not. And I don't want to, put them all in the same kind of category, but the point is, smash spot for Drew Dober. Don't really have much else to say on this one. I did feel like it was a gimme, so easy for the gamblers, for the wagerers of the world. But in terms of what this does for his stock, it's, it was an exciting fight. I just don't see how this does anything for Drew Dober. Do you agree?
Yeah, I would agree with you, Derek, 100%. Not really a lot of fun, not really much give back for Drew Dober coming this way.
But, I mean, hey, man, if you're in it for the fun fights, you're in it for the fun fights. He already said, he's like, I tried the route of calling the dudes out and waiting, and, I'm tired of that. I want to fight, so let's get it. That's dad strength, too, the newfound dad, Drew Dober. Shout out. All right. Okay, Alex Morono versus Joaquin Buckley, right? This is a fight here, AJ, where I wanted to break it down just a touch because I thought this was a good matchup, right? And Alex Morono, if there's any of these guys to be able to display a fight IQ and a game plan to defeat Joaquin Buckley, I thought it would be him. But AJ, did I not? I'm going to do revisionist history, and I should do a flashback moment right here because this is why I bet on Joaquin Buckley. Alex Morono is a man I cannot trust to execute the game plan that is necessary to win the fight purely from a strategy perspective. Now, who's to say grappling Joaquin Buckley would have been even a good move in the first place because of the explosiveness and the athleticism. But when Morono says, I came into this camp with a wrestling-heavy approach. I am going to wrestle Joaquin Buckley. And there were approximately, let me take a look, AJ, there were approximately 2 shots taken in the entire fight. You got one of them, I guess, right? But there was really no offensive grappling going on. There was a little jiu-jitsu on display early. After that, it was just a kickboxing match. What do you think?
Yeah, that's what let me down a little bit too, Derek. That's what I was going for in my mind, seeing how at least these last 3 fights that Alex Morono's had, seeing him take that more wrestling-oriented approach, be the more dedicated, at least mentally locked-in fighter. I thought, I was like, oh, he's, building on these base blocks. This is kind of what makes sense to me. Sorry, I let you down on that one, folks. But Joaquin Buckley, I got to give a lot of credit to Joaquin Buckley on this one, because not only did he fight his better style of fight, be able to not get, well, he did get the one takedown, but not be able to get taken down 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times and really sap that gas tank. He looked good in the third. In fact, when I saw him bouncing around coming out of the second into the third, I was like, oh shit, I might have dropped this ball on this one. So I got to give credit to Buckley on this one, especially because a lot of the force and a lot of the power, speed, all the stuff we were talking about before that he was exhilarating on Alex Morono did wear him down, man. He looked like he was really struggling in that last one. Buckley looked good. I got to give it to him, man. Buckley is growing into his mold of this fighter, especially at 170. He looks killer.
That's it. I mean, the commentary booth, they kept talking about it the whole time. But at the end of the day, yeah, Buckley kind of re-changed his whole entire style, going down to 170, eating better, being more athletic, working out more, all of that good stuff. And it looks like he's really taking his career serious. So it's a big switch. It's very Kevin Holland-esque, right? Big switch between 185 and 170. The only major difference is I do think that with Joaquin Buckley factoring in his own wrestling, he got more takedowns than Alex Morono did. Using that kind of blitz in Mike Tyson, you know what I mean? Peekaboo type style, right? Like, the future is bright for Joaquin Buckley. The only problem that I see from him is that I don't get enough straight action down the pipe right there. Everything is hooked. Everything is big. And what did we see for Joaquin Buckley? Let me actually pull it up really quickly. I'm going to look up Joaquin Buckley's last fight, right? So I'm pulling it up on the screen right now. All right, Joaquin Buckley. There you are, sir. Let's take a look at this together. All right, Alex Morono, Andre Fialho. That was a fight right there where you have to admit it was give and take for a little bit, right? That was not a just run through of Andre Fialho, excuse me. You look at the Chris Curtis fight, Nasruddin Imavov fight. I think that's where a lot of that development has come. So when you move past the Imavov, Curtis, Fialho, and then you get down to Morono, yeah, you're able to have some success right there. But in the grand scheme of things, do you think that he is going to be a title challenger in this 170-pound division if he cannot straighten up some of those shots?
If he cannot straighten up some of these shots, Derick, no. I do think not necessarily fundamentals is what's lacked for Joaquin Buckley, but he has a little too much dog in him. He has a little too much of that excitement that he thinks was like, I'm just going to come in here, I'm going to provide a hell of a fight, I'm going to land these big bombs. But if he's able just to set up those big bombs with ones and twos down the pipe, throw some jabs, throw some stuff, dude, he can be an absolute star. I just think the mentality and that dog mentality that I'm talking about, Joaquin Buckley, as much as it's a good thing for him, it's also a little bit of a curse as well. And that's what gets him into the positions we've seen him get into before. Absolutely.
Well, I think nothing but how would you say? The future is bright. That's really what I want to say right there for Joaquin Buckley. I don't know why that was phrased so weirdly, but I do think that he's going to be a real problem. And I want to see who they're going to start matching him up with, man. You got to look at Alex Morono. This dude's fought some good guys. Joaquin Buckley, you better get some good guys next. You know what I'm saying? All right, AJ, to move on to the opening bout right here. This is what I got to say. This was a fight I was heavy on. Like, leading up to this fight, the numbers were all over the place. Bill Algeo opened up as a massive favorite. And then weirdly enough, AJ, this is where I got lucky. This is where it pays to be sharp on this one. The odds flipped massively in favor of Alexander Hernandez. So a lot of the questions was like, yo, what is going on? Is there something that they know that we don't know, that Vegas knows or something like that? What's going on, and why is Alexander Hernandez suddenly this big favorite? Then, I think at close of the fight, AJ, it was even money, right? So I was able to get in on Bill Algeo at plus 100 for this matchup, even though I think at open he was like a minus 150. So for me, it was a steal, or minus 145, but it was a steal on Bill Algeo, and I had been saying it the whole time. You said it. Alexander Hernandez is not a guy that you can have a lot of faith in from a wagering perspective due to the inconsistencies. Bill Algeo was too long, too lanky, too tricky of a switch fighter. And in the grand scheme of things, man, I think he just frustrated the power puncher that is Alexander Hernandez, man, make him take some risks that he didn't want to. This was not a flawless performance, but this was a goddamn fantastic performance by Senior Perfecto, Bill Algeo. What'd you think?
100%, Derick. I couldn't agree with you more, especially on the Bill Algeo side. But I do want to take a step back and say, man, Alexander Hernandez, one of the better performances we've seen him have, at least in a loss as of late. You know, like, he is getting better. We saw him have some of his moments. Yeah, I agree. He lost the fight pretty handily, but he was still in there and mentally strong and physically strong going the whole time. And that spoke volumes to the character of Alexander Hernandez, because we've seen him have highest of highs and lowest of lows. This was a nice middle ground fight. It ended up in a loss. It is what it is. But it was a more so of a good showing from Alexander Hernandez, that he still has a lot of potential and a lot of things to get it done. This was just a hard fight because, yeah, Algeo had the length, had the speed, had the timing, had all the things that were looking good, as well as just a half step ahead of whatever Alexander Hernandez is going to do. Bill Algeo not made it look easy, but made it look pretty damn near perfect.
Well, that's what I was saying is for Hernandez, man, he's always going to be in the fight given his power, right? So he's walking you down, looking to throw the big shot. He might even land it here and there. The only problem was that's like the only bright spot of the round, while Algeo is just picking at you the whole fight, knees up the middle, trying to time that, giving him something to think about. You come in here, close the distance, you're going to get caught, right? Question mark kicks. He dropped Alexander Hernandez. When he dropped him, I was like, oh, this is the beginning of the end right here, right? But I do like that Algeo stayed composed, didn't rush his work, and he squeaked out that victory, 30-27 right there. Didn't even really squeak it out. Like, it was a pretty solid win, but I do agree. It did not feel like a pure just ass whooping or anything like that. Like, it was just a good matchup. Good fight. And with that being said, man, Bill Algeo, he's calling out some names. He wants some guys. This dude's over here calling out Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, man. He said, what's up? Who wants it, bro? My question to you before we pivot off of this one, man, is that Alexander Hernandez, you just mentioned it, man. We've seen the highs, we've seen the lows. When you're taking a look at his career, things get really dicey because he's now 14-7. This was a guy who everyone was saying is going to be a future champion. He proclaimed himself as that. And if you look at this last run of work, man, here, sorry, let me pull off this. Sheesh, that doesn't look good. A lot of red, man. Bill Algeo, Jim Miller is the only win right there, and I'm mad because I bet on Jim Miller for that fight. So it's like, you got me on that one. But Billy Q, Renato Moicano, when your wins are against these types of calibers of guys, Jim Miller is a big one, right? But Mike Breeden, Chris Grutzmacher, that's another big one. Let me see. Francisco Trinaldo. I mean, look at that, man. A win over Olivier Aubin Mercier, man. Like, it's so inconsistent. It's odd. What's the cap? What's the career cap for Alexander Hernandez? Where do we go from here?
Right now, Derek, I think the career cap for Alexander Hernandez, and I'm speaking like 5 years into the present or into the future right here, I think he might has, at least at the level he is now, he's going to be a very solid gatekeeper. Maybe even maybe this name popped in my head just because we just read it, but that Renato Moicano level of fighter. Not necessarily a star, but a guy that everybody knows the name of, kind of in that gatekeeper position. If Alexander Hernandez is able to really put a couple new hitches in his game, a couple new little things, maybe it goes a little higher than that, but that's right now at least where I see him. And it's not to disparage anything, that's just a hell of a level to be around. Not Moicano, that's a hell of a fighter, a hell of a name if you're a hardcore fan. I see that level for Alexander Hernandez. What about you, Derek?
Yeah, I guess that's fair, man. A gatekeeper, we can definitely see that. I think if he adds a couple tools to his game, man, things can definitely shift and pivot a little bit differently. I think he's still got a bright future ahead. I mean, this is his weight class, right? Like, it doesn't feel like he's not in the right weight class.
Oh, yeah, no, this feels like this is home now, man. And that's what I was thinking of best is he looked good. He felt like he was fighting at the 155 again where he had all the power, but now he had the speed as well. He looked good. I like him at 145.
All right, fair play. Well, that is your main card, folks. Bloody Water Podcast consensus picks. Once again, 3-1, almost hit the perfect spot. We got broke by, the king, Bobby Green himself, right? But keep rocking with us, folks, and we're going to keep winning you some money. Now, AJ, let's move on to a couple of prelim fights, and there is a couple fights that I want to highlight in particular. The first one here, AJ, man, it's like I don't know. We keep sleeping on her. She keeps winning. Karolina Kowalkiewicz, AJ, she got the job done. This was a fantastic victory against Diana Belbita. I think you went with Belbita when we were talking about that one. I'm not sure if we gave our official leanings, but Kowalkiewicz was always going to be the pick, more experienced, seen it all, done it all. And listen, she got the job done. Outpointed, out-veteraned Diana Belbita. It was a big win. 4 wins in a row after suffering a 5-fight losing streak. That is the most beautiful narrative of this entire journey that we're on with her career. You got to love to see it. What'd you think?
I like this one, man, for Kowalkiewicz. Yeah, I wanted Belbita to win. I'm not even sure on the pre-show, folks. If you're a true fan, go check it out. Let us hold a little accountability there. I'm pretty sure that I said I wanted Belbita to win, but I'm leaning Kowalkiewicz because of the trajectory she's on. Man, she looks good. I'm excited to see where Kowalkiewicz actually goes after this, because if she's able to string together another 2-3 fights in the 115, in the strawweight division, there's some moving and shaking that can happen, and within less than a year, we could be seeing Kowalkiewicz fighting maybe top 5, maybe top 2, somewhere in that range. I'm excited to see how many she can string together to get to that point and how fast she can get it done.
I thought it was just a fantastic display right there, and it's one of those stories you want to root for right there when you got a fighter like that. Belbita's good, man. It's just up and down, and when you get a veteran like Kowalkiewicz, she was only like a -150 favorite, so I thought that was another smash spot right there, where it's like, come on, you got to find your value in these odd lines that you get right there. AJ, my sleeper, Nate Maness versus Mateus Mendoza. This was a sleeper, not for the reasons that I thought it would be. Ultimately, I thought it'd be a much more stand-up affair type fight, but this is another display right here, and this is something that I had a problem with for a couple of fighters. Your sleeper as well, man, where you're trying to play jiu-jitsu, right, against these guys who are not going to allow you to play jiu-jitsu. Yeah, it's nice. You get on a knee bar, you get on a heel hook, you get that leg, and you fall in love, and you're like, I got to finish him. I know I could blow his ACL right now if I can just get my elbow the right way. Meanwhile, you're getting your face smashed in. This is MMA. This is not jiu-jitsu. I do not encourage going for those types of things. If you want to do your jiu-jitsu, if you want to do that type of stuff, go Oliveira style, go Makhachev style, go more top control arm triangles, just more dominant positions. Went for the leg lock, got knocked out a couple times, actually, right? What'd you think about that one, AJ?
That's what I was about to say, Derick. Got knocked out, woken up again, and then got knocked out one more time. Yeah, this is a perfect example of what you said, Derick. You know, don't play jiu-jitsu. If you're going for the legs, even Daniel Cormier said it himself. Any attack you put on the legs leaves your face open and gets smashed on. This is a perfect example of Nate Maness showing the debut fighter in Mateus. You got to keep your hands up, man. You got to protect that face, protect that jaw, or else you're going to sleep.
And he is not a debutant fighter. This is his second UFC fight now. But listen, we dropped the ball. It's not it. But Nate Maness, major upset right there. That was like a major upset. I think live odds, people were cashing in at like plus 300 on Nate Maness. And he gets the first round TKO. So you got to love that. All right, AJ. Vanessa Dempoulos versus Kanako Murata. Now, this is a fighter that I'm invested in. Kanako Murata. High-level wrestler. You gotta love it. I apologize, folks. I think I called her a judoka on the preview show. She is a high-level wrestler. She fought Vanessa Dempoulos, and this is one where I said, hey, you got to take a look at Vanessa Dempoulos because if she can keep the fight standing, she wins the fight. Well, this was one of a couple different prelim fights, AJ, that I just thought that was just very poor fight IQ. The one we just talked about was another display. But Vanessa Dempoulos decided to play jiu-jitsu with Murata, and I think that the fight IQ on Murata's side was what lost her the fight. When she's going for Hulk smash, double hammer fists, instead of clean right hand down the pipe for your ground and pound when you're in top control, when someone's in their guard, she messed up, and I don't think the right person won, AJ. But we have to discuss this debacle that we have here. Can you win playing jiu-jitsu? Vanessa Dempoulos just did it. Or was this just an outright, get the Scully on, get the loot out, we got to stick them up, we got a robbery? What'd you think?
I'm saying grab the bags, Derick. There's a robbery going down because as much as Vanessa Dempoulos did show you could win playing jiu-jitsu, or you could win doing those certain kind of aspects, it's more so because Murata didn't use the actual strikes that would best benefit her to get the finish, man. As much I love the era of UFC when it was King Kong, Alexander Romanov. You would just come in and double King Kong fist everybody up. It looks cool. It looks savage. It looks, nice. But that's if only you can land a fist to the chin and actually get them, get the body limp a little bit. Kanako, as much as she was able to do that, I was watching and looking at the whole time, just seeing her not be as effective as you could be on the top. It was a very interesting call, and I can only imagine how frustrating it is for Murata. Well, I'm glad you pulled this one up, Derick. Yep, that's exactly what I was expecting, man.
It's got to be even more frustrating for the bettors out there because, as you see, we have almost a clean sweep for Kanako Murata. 30-27 is kind of ridiculous, right? But 29-28. I thought Murata won rounds 1 and rounds 3. I think they actually gave Dempoulos rounds. Yeah, I don't know what they gave her. I actually forget. But the point is, look at this, man. One person in favor of Dempoulos. I don't know how exactly she won that fight. Yeah, if it's damage-based criteria, I can see that. But the amount of control that Murata had, like I said, it's just inconsistent judging where you don't know what counts for what. So having like 12 minutes of control time, you still lose your fight definitively. It's like it's weird. But then again, like I said, I blame Murata for the poor fight IQ with doing double hammer fists instead of just clean right hands to the chin, man, and saying, hey, you want to chill right here and play jiu-jitsu? We're going to put it on you. Of course, Dempoulos is tricky, though. Murata had to watch out for the arm bars, the triangles, and all that stuff. But once again. So moving right along, AJ, to your sleeper. And once again, I will say another kind of poor fight IQ type situation. Johnny Munoz, right, jiu-jitsu guy, as I had mentioned on the pre-show, fights Arichi Lang, and everybody said, well, Arichi Lang sits down on his punches. He's big, powerful. Munoz is going to shoot underneath. He's going to take him down. He's going to submit him. And it almost looked like that was going to be the case early on, AJ. But once again, your jiu-jitsu only works if you can actually get to that finishing position, and he never really got there. So, Arichi Lang put it on him, got the decision victory. What'd you think?
This was the one for me, Derick, as I expected Johnny Munoz to at least open up a little bit more on the feet to get Arichi Lang thinking this was going to be a standing fight and then go for his classic, man, then go for his bread and butter. But Richie Lang, he knew what was going on, man. He stuck to his guns, big power shots. I love those kicks down from low for Richie Lang too, man. This dude thuds you whenever he's throwing shots. You gotta love it as that kind of fighter. This is a rough loss for Johnny Munoz Jr.
Almost rough for me because I was betting on a Richie Lang in this one, and I will say that he jumped into Munoz's guard one too many times. Bro, just like, bro, you're trying to get submitted. Like, you're trying to go to where he wants you to go to. Other thing on top of that one, man, is that, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, sprawl and brawl, baby. That's what you got to do against these guys, man. Don't open them up. Don't let them just chill in the guard. Don't just get outside, stand up, and let's fight. But the most poor fight IQ that I saw on this entire prelim card, AJ, it was the first fight. JJ Aldrich versus Montana De La Rosa. I was heavy on De La Rosa in this fight, given that I thought that in the grand scheme of things, we're going to wrestle JJ Aldrich. Both of them can grapple. JJ Aldrich is in comparison of skill set in terms of striking, a way superior striker in my opinion. So the game plan of let's kickbox with JJ Aldrich and shoot like one shot, it didn't line up to me. It didn't make sense to me. I just feel like JJ Aldrich was another one of those where it's like, it's hard to find a nice pin on JJ Aldrich because of her up and down performances. She wins the fights you don't think she's going to win. She loses the fights you think that she is going to win. And Montana De La Rosa, I think, gave her a layup here and ultimately fell to 12-9-1 in her career. I'm not sure how much Montana De La Rosa we see left in the UFC. What do you think?
Ooh, that's a good observation, Derick, because you're right. When Montana De La Rosa came in, I was high on her. Yeah, I was big, thinking she's going to, be doing really nice things going forward. She's kind of fizzled out a little bit, and I think it's almost the opposite for JJ Aldrich, man. Everybody kind of seems JJ Aldrich is a little lackluster, if you will. Not necessarily polished up, not shining, but getting better, looking good, staying to her guns. Can't get too mad at this one. I do agree with you. I was hoping, or I'm not hoping for Montana De La Rosa to win, but I had my favor in her side. Ends up getting let down. It's all good.
Yeah, it is what it is. And AJ, the last thing that we should mention, this was my super max play. Bet the house on it. It got canceled. Felipe Lins versus Iwan Cutelaba. And the sad part, AJ, is I guess it was Felipe Lins that withdrew on fight day. I don't know what was going on, but you'd have to imagine it'd be so bad that where you feel very confident, you must have not been confident in your capacities. But interesting point that I just kind of wanted to mention. I don't know what you feel about it. Dana White says Iwan Cutelaba did get paid for making weight, showing up. His opponent pulled out on fight day. What are you going to do? Well, remember, Wonderboy Thompson, very similar situation, except his opponent didn't make weight. So he's like, I don't want to fight you. He didn't make weight, right? Wonderboy didn't get paid. What do you think?
That's an interesting one, Derick. I just looked it up on Tapology. Medical issues with Lins. So it wasn't necessarily Iwan Cutelaba didn't want to fight. He still wanted to fight, So I think that right there, the choice that Stephen Thompson made of being like, nah, you didn't make weight, so I don't want to fight you, versus, hey, my guy can't fight, but I do. Maybe it's right there. I don't know. Or maybe just Dana White doesn't like Wonder Boy. Either way, I'm glad Iwan Cutelaba got paid. I feel like it's a nice one, especially because medical issues. Nothing you can do on that one. Let the boy get some money.
Yeah, and I guess this is, from what I've heard before, correct me if I'm wrong, folks, I believe this is the second time Felipe Lins has pulled out on fight day, which is not one of those things you want to see. You remember one of our OG dudes that we would talk about a lot. Oh, man, what is his name? I'm forgetting him. He was along the lines of the Dusko Todorovic. You know what I'm talking about. My man pulled out a bunch of times due to anxiety issues, like on fight day, and they ended up cutting him. Good fighter, man. Tom Breeze, actually, that's what it was. Tom Breeze.
Tom Breeze.
Yes, sir. Shout out to Tom Breeze. In a good way, though. I'm still a big fan of Tom Breeze. I just wish he could have got over some of the anxiety issues, but that's neither here nor there. AJ, that was the prelims. That was a breakdown of the entire card right there. You got to love to see it. Like I said, I thought this was a pretty interesting card, sleeper card. We're looking at some performance bonuses. Bobby Green, 50K. Joe Pyfer, 50K. Drew Dober, 50K. Nate Maness, 50K. No fight of the night this run. All right, AJ, now it's time to break down a little bit of rankings review right here. I guess we got to it a little bit too early, but there we go. Now, what we need to do here is we need to break down one clear division. There's a reason that I have these names up. It's because it's the only division that matters. It's really the only ranked fighter that was on this entire fight. It was the lightweight division. And even though I think we reviewed this a couple of weeks ago for Gamrot, we need to take one more revision because Bobby Green has insert Bobby Green into this top 10. And what we need to look at, more important than anything else, is look at the UFC consensus top 10 right here. Number 10, Grant Dawson. Number 9, Dan Hooker. For me, I have Dan Hooker 10. I just have these switched right here. Grant Dawson right in front. Well, AJ, where is Bobby Green going in your top 10, my friend?
That's what I was looking at over here, Derick, because I see him when I'm picturing Bobby Green. I was looking. I don't even have Grant Dawson on my top 15, but either way, I'm going to take a little look at this. But man, Dan Hooker, Jalen Turner, Terrence McKinney, I see him in that area, in that mix, probably below the Arman Sarukians, below the Mateusz Gamrots.
You got to talk into the mic, brother.
Oh, sorry. You can't. All right, my bad, brother. I was over here looking. So I'm curious because, I don't have Grant Dawson in there, so obviously he would take that spot. But I do think I have him in that area of the Dan Hookers, the Jalen Turners, the Terrence McKinneys, probably right below that, maybe above T-Rex, maybe below Jalen Turner. But I still think in that area right there, that's where Bobby Green will probably find himself, at least for me, right below Dan Hooker in that kind of mix. What about you, Derick? I'm curious because this is a hard one to place, Bobby Green.
This is tough because on one hand, it's like almost just out of the principle of being fair. You're like, you have to put them just purely at number 10. I just don't know if he beats any of these guys. Like, yeah, you beat Grant Dawson, but I can't say with a straight face that you're defeating any of these guys. Demir Ismagulov, Moicano's calling him out. He's saying he wants Hooker, he wants Moicano. To be fair, I could fit Bobby Green in at 15, you know what I mean? And just like, all right, let's just see what you can work with there. But you beat number 10, so you deserve to be number 10. So I guess I'm going to be putting him there. The only problem is it's going to be the one name that I feel like still doesn't particularly belong on the list. No disrespect to Bobby Green. Love some Bobby Green. And clearly it's any man on any given day can get the job done. But in the grand scheme of things, shoot, man. I want to see what a fight against Dan Hooker looks like. Let's do it. Let's line that one up, and then we can get a little more clarity. I'll put him at number 10 for the time being. That means somebody got to go, and who's going to go, man? I don't think it. I mean, Drew Dober is the only guy that can go, I guess, because fighting Ricky Glenn's of the world. You got anything else on this, AJ?
No, that's why this is a hard one, Derick, especially because you're right. I don't feel comfortable putting Bobby Green in there because it's just not as much as he is that skilled fighter, as much as he could get a couple over on these guys. I think the majority of the time they're getting it over on him more often than not.
All right, fair enough. Folks, we made it to the outro. This was a little bit of a short show, given that the action on the card was pretty condensed, short, sweet, concise, and to the point. That's the way that you love it. I got to give you another friendly reminder. If you have not subscribed to this program, you should absolutely do so. We have north of 700 subscribers on the channel. You got to love it. We're almost to 1,000 people right there. And I'm convinced once you get to the number of 1,000 people right there, I mean, you're going to be doing some nasty stuff in a good way, though, of course. So if you want to make some money, if you want to make the world a better place, subscribe to the Bloody Water Podcast. Tell a friend to tell a friend, and you already know what the vibes are. AJ, talk to the people. Get us out of here.
Woo, Derick said it best. You want to make some money. You want to be a good person. You want to, you have your friends love you. Let them know. Send them over to the Bloody Water Podcast. Have them join this army so that way we can run the world eventually and in the best of ways. Derick might have said it, he's doing the friendly reminder. I'm over here being the aggressive guy, man. I'm making demands. Go ahead, hit that button. Make sure you do it because if you are, I know you're winning cash week in and week out. I know you're actually in the vibe, in the mix, and looking good for your friends, winning money. What's better than that? What's better than that is actually being that good friend and letting them know where they can do that as well. And it's right here on the Bloody Water Podcast. We're your favorite fighters, favorite fight show for a reason, folks. And it's not just because of the green that's going down. It's because of the breakdowns. It's because of the actual real truth or the outtakes we have, and as well as the accountability for when we mess up. Like on our prop bets, we're here right with you. We're holding true, and that's what really brings the success. This one, man, we got a couple big fights here coming up next week, or not next weekend, but the weekend after. We got UFC pay-per-views on deck. Last quarter of the year, you saw it before, the fight or the contention between Derick and I for this belt that we're fighting for is getting close. And all that means, folks, is you're winning more money consistently because those the consensus picks of the Bloody Water Podcast do reign supreme. I guess it wasn't short and sweet, Derick, but it's enough to get it done, folks. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe button regardless.
All right, folks, you heard the man. That's it for us. Until next time, peace.